from seas of millions to be New Yorkers. That loud, obnoxious person somewhere in the Midwest, you're too loud for Ohio, come to New York. And every single person seems to be a personality. You get on the train, instead of saying the next stop is, the guy gets on the mic and he's like an aspiring rap star. The name of this damn station is Metuchen Food! Wow! And there's lots of loud personalities there. And I've been going to New York for many years. I'm an East Coast resident. I come from Washington, D.C., about 5 hours south of New York City. B, being in a rock band in America, hopefully you will play New York all the time. And when I started touring through New York a lot, I was in the band Black Flag from 1981 to 1986. And we played in New York about every 7 weeks because people would show up. And like many independent bands, some of you have been in bands in those days where you live in a van and you live show to show. There's not a whole lot of money. And so if you don't play, you don't eat. And you make enough money to basically get enough petrol to get to the next town, buy some gear to replace the broken gear, and you kind of get by. You sleep on people's floors and you make it. And at the time it's fairly miserable, and then when you're old and 50, you remember some of the best times of your life. That's how time lies to you as you go. And so, many times I had these amazing stories in New York. Here's but a few, because I was just there. Many years ago, when I first started playing there with Black Flag, there was a diner that we used to go to, I think on Avenue A. It was a Polish diner, so they would give you big helpings of food for very cheap amounts of money, which was great for us. Lots of starch. Fill your stomach and get the wolf of hunger away from your mind for a while. So we would go into this place and eat. And so me and the bass player, Chuck Dukowski, we finished our food, we paid the nice lady, and we're standing outside just looking at the street. And there's two kind of homeless men sitting across the street with their earthly goods on 2 pieces of cloth, and they're just like selling what they've got, like broken stuff, and no one's going to buy it. It's fairly worthless rubbish, but it's what they've got, and they're going to sell it. And one guy leans over and takes another, takes like a cup from the other guy and puts it on his piece of cloth. And the guy goes, "Hey, give that back, that's mine." And the other guy goes, piss up a rope, whatever. And like the one homeless guy that got his cup taken pulls out a knife and stabs the other one. Like in the leg, you're going, "Oh my God, he stabbed him!" And the guy's bleeding. "You stabbed me! Why did you stab me?" "Because you took my stuff." "Oh." And he sat back down, and they both looked at his bleeding leg. And that's when I realized I was really far from home. In America, I had a lot to learn. And the learning curve in those days, I thought I knew America until I toured through it, and then I found out that America is one of the roughest rooms in the entire world. And after that, we played a night in New York, and the crowd is, going crazy. They're boiling away. And a huge man gets on stage, and he had a black flat top, like a military cut. Huge guy, dark green trench coat, black army boots. He takes this lap around the stage like he's gathering speed, and then he vaults off the stage like some huge trench-coated Superman and fell like the Hindenburg straight down, as you can imagine. And all the veteran concert goers beneath him see the light be eclipsed, like something is above us. And they're veterans. When the lights go out, move, because chances are it's a human body dropping feet per second. And so everyone moves except for one girl who didn't get the memo. And she took the entirety of this man's body weight, bam, and just covered by this man. This huge man is just kind of over her, and the trench coat is out, so all you see is cloth, this heaving man, and like one female leg. And I was like, jeez, and a team comes and rolls this huge man off this mere mortal girl, and she's like, and they pick her up and they shake her, and she reconstitutes and comes back to life and kind of staggers away. And everyone goes like, "Yeah, way to survive!" And she goes away, and we look at our set list. There's another 80 songs to play, and it will only take about 35 minutes, and that's what those days were like. So we plunge back into work. And months later, we come back to New York, and we're sound checking at some venue. It's the afternoon, and there's no one there but the crew and the band. And a girl walks in across the empty floor, and she walks right up to the stage, and she looks up at me and says, "Hi." I said, "How do you do, madam?" I am that polite. And she said, "Do you remember me?" And I said, "No." And I said, where would I remember you from? And she said, remember last time you played here, that guy jumped off stage like, oh, are you the girl that got landed on by that big fat bastard? She said, I am. I said, well, I'm so glad you're okay. I mean, we all gave you a big round of applause because we thought that guy had killed you. And she said, well, I'm not that okay. And I honestly forget which eye she referenced, but she put her hand up to one of her eyes and pulled down the lower lid, and she said, this is a glass eye. He knocked my eye out. And I didn't know what to say to that, because obviously there's nothing funny about that. And I just kind of stood there like, I'm so sorry. And she said, it's okay, I'll see you tonight. And she turned around and left. And to my knowledge, I have never seen this woman again. I mean, maybe she's been in the audience since and I don't know. But she left, and I guess she was at the show later that night. And that was a real wake-up call to me. It made me really understand some of the ramifications of our frolicsome behavior. And as they say, it's all fun and games until someone loses an eye. And I never really understood that until... And this girl, she just came to the show. And I bet the guy doesn't know that he took a girl's eye out, and I bet he would never want to do that. And I don't know the lesson in that story, and it didn't make me change the way I did anything, but it has really made me see that there's going to be a price to pay for all of this life on overdrive. And I think we came back like a year or so later after 2 or 3 tours. We were playing away, bigger places going nuts. And there's these long hairs up front. And I'm not trying to put long-haired people in the pejorative. We just had a very funny one on stage moments ago. But I'm saying these, you know, they looked a little different than our normal crowd. And they're right up front, and they're really into it. They're completely sweating, and they're like, yeah! Like, wow, okay, long hair. And so we finished the show. The long hair seemed to have had a nice time. And we were backstage kind of recovering. And in those days, the backstage area at a lot of venues, they were not nice at all. There's no bathroom back there. There's no icy bucket of cold drinks, like literally nothing like that. There's just a broken couch, and you just kind of sit down, you know, next to some drying food or vomit on the carpet. And we're just kind of like catching our breath. And there's a knock on the door. Like, someone's knocking on the door? Like, really? Usually they would just like break in. And in New York, if anyone wants to come backstage, you're usually going to get mugged. And so I'm like, okay, here we go. And everyone in the band, they're like cowering, like, Henry, you open the door. Because, you know, you hit people. And I'm like, thanks a lot. And so I go to the door, and I open it. And it's like some, you know, kind of older guy, like some like 40-something-year-old man. And he's kind of pushy. I've got a band here who wants to meet you, see? I'm a big rock schmo, see? I said, some band wants to meet us? Like, what are you talking about? I've got a band here, they want to meet you. And he pushes by me, and this band walks in, I guess. It's all the long hairs who are at the front row all night long. He goes, this is Metallica! Extremely nice guys. We, you know, shook hands. They seemed to be fans of ours, and I sat them down and gave them some lyric ideas and chord changes, and wished them well and sent them on their way. Hey, you're welcome. So that all happened. And so this tour I just did of New York, I spent a week there doing shows, and it was really fun. And I went from there back to Los Angeles, where I live. And I feel very odd as an East Coast person on the West Coast of America. Many of you have been to America. East Coast and West Coast are very, very different. They're like two different polarities. On the East Coast, people talk about the speed I'm talking now. They're very, very fast, very, very abrasive, very much in your face. On the West Coast, they're no less intense. They're just more laid back about it. Instead of the East Coast hold up, I'm gonna have a gun in your face and a gun in your face! And there is certainly that. In Los Angeles, it's like, hey man, what's up? Like, oh, that's a gun! Yeah, we'll shoot you. I'm not that laid back sociopath, not like the mouthy ones on the East Coast. I'm kind of cool with it, but I will shoot you. And so I've been living out there for, well, 30 years, which is, I have no really good excuse, except many years ago, that's where my 2 milk crates of broken crap and my cum-stained futon kind of ended up. And then many of you left home for some reason, you ended up in another town, and you kind of hit the minimum wage working world, and go, pink, I guess I'm here. And that's how I ended up in Los Angeles after Black Flag broke up. So now I'm kind of firmly ensconced there. And I just did this week of shows, and you know, while doing that, I kind of realized